Okay, so a brief history on my experience with Dragon Ball and anime in general. I want to say from the ages of 7 to 14, I absolutely could not stand anime. Like anything in that style, I just thought was the dumbest thing ever. And also, I couldn't watch it. But that's another topic entirely. But I think the only anime I watched as a kid was Sonic X. And the only reason why I watched Sonic X was because it had Sonic in it, and I love Sonic, as you can tell from my previous two videos on this channel. And I didn't really care that it was anime. I was like, oh, a cartoon with Sonic in it. Of course, I was gonna like it. But I distinctly remember one of my good friends, one of my best friends, when we were like kids, Dragon Ball Z Kai was airing on, I think, Nicktoons or Nickelodeon, and he was really excited about like showing me the show. Like he would always quote it. He would do like the Kamehameha and all that stuff, and he was really excited to show it to me. And he like presented it to me as like this serious action show. And then I distinctly remember him turning on an episode, and then that theme song played. It was just like this bright and poppy song with these dumb lyrics with all these characters, like muscle characters jumping around and flying and stuff like that. I just thought it was the dumbest thing ever, and I was like, this is not for me, my dude. Like I just can't get into it. And for the longest time, I just thought Dragon Ball was just something that I could never get into. When I actually did get into anime around the age of 14 and 15, I recognized the difference between Western and Eastern animation entertainment. Cause I also think I didn't like anime because it was just so different from the cartoons I grew up with, which was like SpongeBob and Batman and all that stuff, and Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, those shows. But once I recognized, okay, Eastern content is this and Western content is this, I was like, okay, I am now more educated on anime and what I like in anime. Let me go back to Dragon Ball to see if I like it. So I think I watched a random episode on Adult Swim on Toonami, and I don't even remember what the episode was. I think it was during the Frieza arc or something, because I think it was Goku and Frieza about to fight. But literally the entire episode was just them talking and powering up. There was no action. There was like literally the plot was not moving. It was stagnant. It was just them talking and powering up. And I was like, this can't be the show that everyone's saying is like one of the most influential animes or TV shows of all time. Like I just don't see the point. And I was like, okay, I guess Dragon Ball just isn't for me. But then a couple of things got me to reconsider it this past year, just in recent years in particular. So the first thing that happened, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, the video game that's pretty much adapting all of the original Dragon Ball Z, that came out, and I believe I watched Afro Sinju play it a little bit. And I thought it looked pretty cool. Like the gameplay looked pretty fun, but also the story was pretty engaging. And most of what I know about Dragon Ball is about like these characters who have to get stronger because the enemy is like really more powerful than them or something like that. And they have to like train all that stuff to get stronger. And I like that a key plot point in the earlier story of Dragon Ball is they basically make power levels a plot point, which I thought was kind of cool. And there's also like some sci-fi elements with the aliens and stuff like that. I thought it was cool. But then I don't know how I didn't know this ahead of time, but I was stuck on the fact that Goku had a son. And I just had no idea he had a son. I was like, where did this come from? Who did he marry to have a son? So I did research, and I found out that there's a whole nother anime called Dragon Ball that came out before Dragon Ball Z, and it's a very controversial hot topic for the Dragon Ball fans on whether you should start with Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z. And me being a person that wants to get the full experience of a story before I go into like the main thing or a sequel or anything like that, I was thinking I should probably watch Dragon Ball first, so I can before I watch Dragon Ball Z. And I saw how long the original Dragon Ball was like 100 episodes. It was like 100 episodes, and I was like, I don't want to waste like my time on this 100 episode show just to get to Dragon Ball Z, which I know is like the more popular show. So I just like I'll give it a chance at some point in that time. But it was just in my mental wish list that I'll get to at some point. The second thing that kind of got me to reconsider the show is the creator Akira Toriyama passing away back in 2024. And even though I didn't really watch any of Dragon Ball, I didn't really consume any of his content. He's a very influential creator. Like, I mean, even though I've been dogging on Dragon Ball this entire time, it was a very influential show to a lot of people. And he also had a hand in making other content. Like he was the lead designer of Chrono Trigger and Dragon Quest. Those are two very popular, well-known video game series. And he he inspired Sonic. Like even though I didn't directly watch any of his stuff, he has inspired a lot of things that I have seen. So I was like, I might as well just give it a shot, just to pay my respects to Akira Toriyama. And then the last thing that pushed me on the edge, and this kind of springboarded me into watching Dragon Ball, was Sparking Zero coming out. And I think I don't have a lot of experience playing the original games that Sparking Zero is kind of adapting, or it's like the continuation of. I do remember playing it with my friend on, like, I think it's GameCube or PS2. I think he had a GameCube, and I got my butt kicked because I didn't know what I was doing. But I was just impressed by how the records it was breaking before the game even came out. Like, I think the pre-order sales was like 3 million units sold, which was insane. And like, I just saw everyone playing it. My friends were playing it, all these YouTubers were playing it, and I was like, wow, like, this franchise is really popular. Like, I need to experience this just to see what all the hype's about. And of course I wanted to play the game too, but like, I just wanted to experience the franchise just to see what all the hype was about. So I was like, you know what, I might as well just start now. There's no other shows I'm really watching at the time. I think and then shows that come out while I was watching, because I started off with Dragon Ball, I want to say in October 2024, and I just finished Dragon Ball Z as of January 2025. Yeah, I just pretty much just binge watched all Dragon Ball straight through. I binge watched all Dragon Ball Z, and I just kind of wanted to talk about my thoughts a little bit. I know there's a very long intro, but start off with Dragon Ball, and I was actually gonna do a separate video with Dragon Ball. But I decided, I'll just combine it all, because it is one story. The manga, or Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, adapts the same manga. But Dragon Ball, starting with Dragon Ball, and I'll keep my thoughts brief because I haven't really. It's been a minute since I've seen it, the original Dragon Ball. I thought it was pretty fun. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to. Would I say it was 100% necessary, for me to watch Dragon Ball before watching Dragon Ball Z? Not entirely, but it definitely helped with some context, especially in the beginning of Dragon Ball Z, because like, Dragon Ball Z doesn't really teach you about the Dragon Balls themselves, whereas in Dragon Ball, it's the first thing of Dragon Ball you're seeing, so of course they're gonna teach you about the Dragon Balls. But I just like seeing the history behind these characters we'll later see in Z, and Goku's like Goku's how Goku knows these characters and his parents meeting them for the first time. And it was just like, it's just a cool piece of history. I'll say, like, some of the stuff doesn't age well. Like, I think some of the humor, like, I think getting past the fact that this is an 80s show and it's a Japanese 80s show, I think if you can get past that, you can maybe get through it. I won't say there's anything super outdated. Maybe there's some culturally insensitive depictions of like, people of color that are in it. And then also Master Roshi, he's infamously a pervert, and it's way more apparent in Dragon Ball than it is in Dragon Ball Z. In fact, it's borderline crimes he's committing, because he's literally like perving on Bulma, and she's like 16 in Dragon Ball. She's literally a minor, and this dude is like trying to grab her, like, her assets and stuff like that. Like, dude, calm down. But let's kind of get into like the characters and stuff. I really liked Goku. I actually like Goku a lot more in Dragon Ball than I did in Dragon Ball Z. Just because he's more of the main character in Dragon Ball Z in Dragon Ball than he is in Z. I think he was just a very charming character. He's a kid, but he's so passionate about getting stronger and perfecting his craft and martial arts that it's kind of like infectious, And I think where his character really shines is where he struggles. He's not as powerful as he is in like the later on in the franchise, but he's still a pretty powerful kid. Like, I think in the second episode, he took out this monster, this dinosaur that was like 3 times the size in like 3 hits, and like it was like nothing to him. But I think where it shines is where he does struggle. Like, he does take a couple of episodes to take down his opponent. Like, I think that shows his resilience as a character and as a martial artist, and it's kind of hints at what you'll see him do in Dragon Ball Z. In fact, a lot of Dragon Ball is it's mostly just the adventure. It's mostly just a fun little fantasy adventure. But towards the end, when you start to get to the King Piccolo stuff, that's where you start to see a little bit more of Z's DNA in Dragon Ball. Because the King Piccolo arc is actually probably my favorite like arc in the entire Dragon Ball, just because of how the stakes are super high. Like you got this alien who's threatening to take over the world, and Goku actually has to like struggle and train for like pretty much the entire arc before he can actually touch King Piccolo. And in the Piccolo Jr. arc, it's not as good, but you get to see Goku as an adult or at least as a teenager for the first time, and you get to see how he meets Piccolo, who's like one of the most popular characters in Z. So like I thought it was all well done, and it all kind of blended pretty well into Z's story. But I don't think you need to really watch the original Dragon Ball to enjoy Z. It'll definitely help, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's necessary, especially because the characters that Goku meets that he'll see in Z aren't really that important, especially in like the first arc of Dragon Ball Z, without spoiling anything. Some things happen and they pretty much become irrelevant for the entire show, which I thought was kind of funny in hindsight. But let's go and get to Z. I think I said everything about Dragon Ball. I thought it was a really cute fantasy show. It's it's very simple, and it's very like, I think, well, all of Dragon Ball is pretty simple, but I think what really makes it shine is the characters and their interactions, and that's the same story with Z. Besides like the hype action scenes and the high stakes and all that stuff, the characters are what really pushed this show, Dragon Ball Z. I think Goku interacting with Krillin, and Krillin interacting with Gohan, and Bulma being in there as well, and Vegeta, like Vegeta's awesome, Piccolo, like all these iconic characters interacting with each other, figuring out how to like say it best possible, but figuring out the best possible way to save the world. It's just so cool and infectious, and I think that's where the show really shines. Not necessarily with the story itself, even though there are moments where the story like actually does hit me a little bit. It's very simple, like Vegeta's struggle to get out of Goku's shadow, because I think Goku and Vegeta's relationship is really driven by Vegeta's pride of like always being behind Goku, who he sees as under him, because Vegeta's like this prince has royal blood, is like the epitome of the Saiyan race, and you got this this guy from nowhere showing up every single time they fight, and it's like that's just like a cool way to build a rivalry between these two characters. And then like Piccolo becomes more fleshed out, like his relationship with Gohan, like Gohan and Piccolo pretty much have this father-son relationship that actually really works for the show. And like I think it really, because like Piccolo in Dragon Ball, he's kind of a one-note villain, especially his dad, King Piccolo. He was a fun villain too, but Piccolo Jr. is kind of this one-note villain. But then when you see him interact with Gohan, you actually see a little bit of a heart to him, and like that's just, it's not much, but it's enough to be like they actually did want to try to make you feel for these characters a little bit. As for like the story itself, like I said with Dragon Ball, it's very simple. It's just like characters beating the crap out of each other, getting stronger and all that stuff. But I'll say I want to say the earlier part of Dragon Ball Z Kai, and I watched Kai, not the original Z. I think it's where it's the strongest. It tapers out a little bit in the final chapters for me at least. But like I think the Frieza arc is where it really shines. Like the Frieza arc, I think, is like peak Dragon Ball Z in my opinion. Like I think just Goku finding out that he's an alien, defying like his bloodline so he can protect the people that he loves, his Axel family. I thought it was really cool. And then like him overcoming Vegeta and Raditz, or well, not Raditz, I forgot the other big guy's name. But then going into space to fight Frieza, who's supposed to be like a bigger threat than Vegeta and the other Saiyans. It's really cool. And then Frieza's history with the Saiyans, he pretty much wiped out all the Saiyans because he was scared of them. Like I think that's a really cool motivation for a villain to be like who he is. And he's he's very racist, calls everyone a monkey. That we love that. But I just really enjoyed it. I was probably the most invested in that than anything else in the entire show, if I'm being honest. That's when I was watching the most. And then the Soul arc was actually pretty cool. I think it kind of drags a little bit with how Cell gets more powerful and stuff like that. I mean, this is an infamous scene, but Vegeta pretty much letting Cell get as powerful as he did, just so Cell can get to his perfect form. I think that was a little cheap. But I thought the ending was good, and then the final chapters happened, and it, like I said earlier, I kind of taper off at this point. I still enjoyed it. I like seeing adult Gohan, figuring out his teenage life. He sounds like an adult. He's supposed to be like 17 or whatever. I like seeing Trunks and Goten. That's Goku's other son. I like seeing them interact. They had a very nice relationship of that. But like, I don't know, man. Like, it just took a really long time for the point to start coming in. Like, the introduction of Majin Buu was kind of like told to us instead of shown. But when Majin Buu comes in, it was pretty cool. Like, I liked I thought the fight between Goku and Vegeta was really well done. Just seeing how much Vegeta's grown since we first met him, and him like struggling with the fact that he's a better person, and him kind of like regretting not being the person that he was. And just struggling with the fact that he is a family person. He is pretty much an Earthling now, and he's taking off that frustration on Goku, even though he's really hating himself for not being where he used to be. And I thought the ending was pretty good. I thought the ending was pretty well done. Like, how they defeat Majin Buu was really well done as well, and the fusion and stuff was all really good. But I just think overall the final chapters was probably the weakest part of Dragon Ball Z Kai, or just Dragon Ball in general. Maybe it's better in Z. I don't know. I'll have to go back and watch Z just to get the comparison. But overall, I really enjoyed the Dragon Ball franchise. I hate that it took me this long to actually get into it, but I'm glad I did, and it's just kind of cool just seeing something that I know a lot of people love through my eyes as an adult who hasn't really had any attachment to these characters. I'm very familiar with Goku. I'm very familiar with Vegeta, Krillin, Piccolo, all those characters. But seeing them in their prime, where they're like most well known for, it was just really special to see. I don't know where I'm gonna go because I'm obviously not done with the Dragon Ball franchise. Like, this is just like the beginning. Because they got all these movies, and then there's Dragon Ball Super, was pretty much like the spinoff of Dragon Ball Z. But if I do go back and watch like Super or any of the movies, I might make another video about that. There's also other classic anime that I haven't seen yet, like Naruto or Bleach, One Piece, which I probably will never get to or make a video about anytime soon. But I might make videos on that if you guys want to know my thoughts on those with fresh eyes. But that's honestly about it. That's kind of all I wanted to really talk about with Dragon Ball Z. Just really enjoyed it. Definitely not shows for everybody because how simple it is. But I think if you can just turn your brain off a little bit and just enjoy like the character interactions and the surprisingly really well choreographed fight scenes. Like, I didn't even talk about the actual fight scenes. They're actually really good. They're not animated the best, but the poses and like the creativity that they have with some of these fights are like really cool. And I heard the movies are even better because they're actually well animated. So I'm very excited to actually watch some of the movies. But yeah, that's honestly about it. Just I took a really long time. That's about a little over 20 minutes. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and yeah, I hope you all like this little chat /review /thoughts of Dragon Ball, and catch you in the next video. Bye.